Hello people, my name is Rage, and it's that time again to dissect E3 and let you guys know my 10 favorite games that I will be keeping my eye firmly planted upon. As usual, if a game is not here, I've either forgotten about it, or it just didn't do nothing for me personally. And while every game on this list might suck, it's fun every now and then to indulge yourself in the entertaining spectacle of, well, being sold to. It's funny, isn't it? E3 is effectively us finding enjoyment of being marketed to incredibly effectively. So may your pre-orders be carefully considered, your hype restrained, and your disappointment for Ubisoft's inevitable graphics downgrades already engaged. Let's do this. So we of course begin with number 10. Now I had a lot of difficulty choosing what to put here, because there were a lot of games that I felt looked, pretty good, but just didn't make me go, oh, I need it in my life, like 9 through 1 generally did. So I'm going to basically use 10 as a sort of pseudo-honorable mentions in a way. So we have Watch Dogs 2, which from the gameplay did look pretty swish and a massive improvement on the first one, but it's because of the first one also looking good but then turning out to be so that I don't want to get too excited about this. I mean, the main character in 2 looks a lot more interesting than Blandy McBland Grumble that we had before, so that is definitely promising, and the new little mechanics and the drones, and hell, even the upgraded tech world does seem cool, but I need to stay grounded with Watch Dogs at this point. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but the Call of Duty trailer looked really cool. I still think the game's probably going to be especially for me who generally doesn't like games like this, but I will admit that through 90% of that trailer, I didn't think I was watching Call of Duty, and I thought it was a new IP, and I felt somewhat tricked when the COD logo came up, and I'd already said, this looks pretty neat. I felt almost dirty all over, so take that what you will. And then we have Battlefield 1, which we have seen gameplay of, and does just look like what it was supposed to be. Amazing Battlefield action set in that time period. And yeah, I mean, I love Battlefield. I played a lot of 1942, a lot of Battlefield 3, and as far as the kind of almost vanilla, generic-y shootery goes, I've always enjoyed Battlefield, and that's not a bad thing, by the way. It's just a way to describe them, I feel. So yeah, I'm kind of liking the look of Battlefield 1. And then I want to give a little quick mention to For Honor once again, just because I want something to scratch the chivalry epic one-on-one combat itch, because damn, that game was fun. And I know a lot of the combat devolved into Vanguard spamming left click yelling for the mist and order, but when you got into a good 1v1 fight, oh, it was good. And For Honor does look like it potentially will have that kind of epic one-on-one skill-based combat with the larger world and mechanics surrounding it into quite a fun little package. From the gameplay, the combat did look a little bit simple between players, but I'm kind of hopeful along the same vein. I'm also very hopeful for Absolver, which looks to be a very in-depth, mechanically intensive. You choose your weapons, your armor, your skill loadout, you control every movement your character makes to a precise level in this beautiful ballet of death against the person that you're fighting. It has a lot less going for it in terms of everything that isn't the one-on-one fighting, but it does look like it does have superlative one-on-one fighting to really keep you interested. So there we go. That's quite the start to this. So the list proper then begins with number 9. And this takes the form of Gwent, the Witcher card game standalone, and I can't deny that one of the most enjoyable experiences of playing Witcher 3, which incidentally is my joint favourite game of all time. I consider it a true masterpiece that everyone really should take the time to play. Playing Gwent within that was just wonderful. You're in this serious story, but Geralt always has time to ask everyone to play frickin' Gwent, and it's so beautifully addictive, deceptively simple, but it has real subtlety. It's got the bluffing element, the conning your your opponent into doing something they shouldn't. The psychological warfare of the card game, which I really like. And hell, you feel that when playing against an AI. Never mind when you're going to be playing it against real people. It's going to be great fun having some triumphant Gwent rounds. It's just a beautiful card game, and I think it can really stand out. I really do. It's only not high on the list because it's a mini game within a game made into a proper game, and I just don't think it'll have that big of an impact, but needless to say, I am very much looking forward to it. So, to number 8 then, we have ourselves Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Oh, with how much we saw him messing with nature, maybe last Breath of the Wild. Now, I was honestly quite surprised at this, because I'm not really a big Zelda fan. You know, playing as Zelda to rescue Link, and you use your flute to summon your horsey pony, and with your Master Dagger and your Tri-Square of Power. But I have to admit that what we saw, and we saw a lot, was really cool. Having a full, explorable, immersive, open world Zelda experience is really something a lot of people, and apparently me, I now realize, have been wanting, because I have not played a Zelda game since Ocarina of Time. Yeah, so it's really quite special that this looked really, well, cool enough that I was like, you know what, I actually really kind of want to play this, because that's not happened for me in a long time with Zelda, and for that reason alone, I have to give it some props here. Unfortunately, I've only got like foam ones, so I'll have to make do, but you know, at least it's getting some props. I just like the look of it. The world looks neat, the combat looks neat, there was a lot of quality hitbox work going on, which I am always happy to see, especially as a Dark Souls fan, and it just looks like a brand new take on the Zelda world, while still hitting those familiar notes that make us love being in any given Zelda game. So I'm looking forward to Breath of the Wild. Next up then, at number 7, we have Death Stranding. Now, I normally don't like putting a game on here that we haven't seen gameplay of, because it's, you know, impossible to judge, but when you've got the kind of pedigree that Hideo Kojima has, and then you put on a trailer that makes me think that just before it started playing, everyone had hallucinogenic drugs gassed into their room, you can't help but remember it, and it stick in my mind. I mean, it is gonna be fun to see Daryl end up having to deal with the fact that all the crabs are dead, and that the sky is bleeding ink with floating still people, while the whales are dehydrating, and all of the clothes have been taken from humanity, and what happened in that trailer? It's just some fevered dream. But I want it, and that's such a weird feeling to have. It really is. It's so mental. So what? But at the same time, you can't not wake up in the night screaming in a hot sweat as you imagine that just mental scene and the fabulous chiseled body of the protagonist. I mean, seriously. Don't tell Danny I said that, okay? Shh, shh, shh. Either way, enough making her mad. Let's move on to number 6, and we have the Sea of Thieves. Now, admittedly, when we first saw this ages ago, I was like, I don't know, but I kept an eye on it because I'll admit, I kind of really love pirates. I do. You tell me something is pirate themed and it instantly gets some points, and I'm like, tell me more. Basically, I like pirate games like a pirate likes gold. So when we actually saw some gameplay, I was really pleasantly surprised. The actual art style of the game and the aesthetic is lovely to be expected from Rare, and the actual mechanics of having these naval battles and experiencing being on your ship as it sinks while you're desperately trying to save it, or indeed boarding the enemy one, all in the name for glorious booty. Probably multiple kinds of booty if piracy is truly to be represented here, but either way, it does look very enjoyable, and you give me a sprawling pirate action adventure with that kind of polish, and then tell me my friends can come along for the ride, and I'm excited. I'm there. I am on board. No pun intended. I'm kidding. It was totally intended. And it's open world to boot, which is excellent, because something a pirate does need is an open world game, because it fits thematically, because pirates are free, and that kind of gives you that impression. So yeah, I love pirates, and Sea of Thieves really does seem to be hitting those notes for me. So next up at number 5 then is actually Detroit Become Human. Now, this one was a surprise to me, although maybe it shouldn't have been, because initially many years ago I just wasn't a fan for heavy dialogue, choice, story-driven games. I don't really know what it was, but I'd just gone off them. I used to be when I was younger, but then I just kind of got a little bit disillusioned with them, and I never played L.A. Noire despite the things that I'd heard about it because of that. But this kind of ignited something within me. The amount of different ways that you have to solve the situation that we were presented with the dude and the kid on the roof, it really tickled my fancy. I love really having to think about my choices, and when they have actual real impactful outcomes, it's just such a satisfying experience. Add in a quality story on top of that and you have a really fun, immersive game. And I think Witcher honestly has really helped me appreciate these types of things, because all of the decisions you make in that game are varied, impactful and meaningful, and do change a lot of things quite significantly. So I've really kind of liked that. And while the Telltale games do it as well, a lot of Telltale choices are kind of fake choices just to make you think you're choosing, and that always rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. So with a game like Detroit Become Human, it looks like we are just getting a ridiculous branching spider web of choice through this interesting world and story, and you're really gonna feel weight and hell, emotion behind what you do, and I can really dig that. So I think I am definitely going to enjoy playing that game. So next up we have number 4, and a very easy choice for me to make. It's Dishonored 2, and it's an easy choice because simply I love Dishonored 1, and Dishonored 2 just looks to be more of the same but better, which a lot of the time is maybe too safe a way to do a sequel, but with Dishonored I think it's fine, because Dishonored was such a tight-knit package of a wonderful world, story, aesthetic, and characters, at least for me, and a lovely blend of pure assassin parkour skill with a little bit of spicy powers added in for good measure, that it just felt like a really good experience that wasn't too long or too short. So honestly, I love that Dishonored 2 just looks like more of the same but better. Fast forward everything 10 years, give us an idea of how things are getting on, give us a new compelling story, throw in the second protagonist, which is Emily, all grown up and apparently turned into a pure badass, which is awesome, and really I am there. I do hope that depending on which character you choose to play as, you do go through the game differently. So, for example, Corvo gets from A to B via going through a dock, whereas Emily gets from A to B via going through a factory. Very basic example, but they get to the same point story requirement-wise, but they have a different way through. Then you really have a reason to play through the game twice. I mean, as it is, they are going to have different dialogue and react to things differently depending on who you play, which does give a reason to play through again, but I'd love to see some really more diverse based on who you're playing as. But irrelevant of that, the new powers look great. If the combat is even just as good as the first one, I will be happy, and I'm just more than anything excited to see what's become of the world of Dishonored based on your actions in the first game. That really is enough for me. It's honestly a simple one to explain this, and I guess, I mean, a lot of people aren't mega excited for it, but I just really love the first one, so obviously I'm going to be pretty pumped for the second one. Coming in at number 3, then, we have God of War. How could this not be on this list and high up? I love the first 3 games. I really do. They were all badass and just a thrill ride from start to finish. Yeah, they weren't perfect, but by God, they were fun. And I really thought we'd seen the last of Kratos, and apparently we haven't. He's back, and having run out of Greek gods to kill, is apparently turning his eye towards Norse mythology, which I'm totally down for, but Odin, you better start running. I don't think they'll actually straight up put in the Norse gods, but we saw a lot of signifiers to Norse mythology. The frozen axe, the giant, hell, he even said Valhalla at one point, so really I think that pretty much cinches it, but it looks like a lot more grounded, story-driven, hell, maybe even emotional if the relationship between Kratos and the kid is deeply explored and made to be something we care about, and that's kind of cool, taking this established character known for being such a badass that just his mere presence and his aura of manliness slays lesser creatures by ripping them apart, now has this kind of more down-to-earth, story-driven adventure. Granted, he still has that aura of badassery, and he's more than willing to use it, but it's actually really cool that they're going in this direction and giving us a new side and a new way to explore Kratos in a way that we've never been able to explore him before. That could be really weird, actually, taken out of context, but you know what I'm saying. So I think it will be cool if we do get to play as the kid. I kind of feel like they'll maybe make Kratos do his signature die and then come back, so the kid's forced to be on his own, but then you do get a reunion, but we shall see. Graphically, it looked beautiful. A lot more realistic of a style, I'd say, than the old ones, even allowing for the massive time gap and advancement in graphical technology. But no, the gameplay looked really cool. We have the signature badass quick times to beat the hell out of things 3 times your size at absolute minimum, and then we have this lovely personal touch. So I am very excited, and I think honestly it might be something truly special. So yeah, God of War. Next up at number 2, we have Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon, and now, I did make an entire 14-minute video on why I think Sun and Moon is going to be just amazing, and you can watch that if you want a real elaboration in depth on this choice, but for a quick summary, the reason is fairly simple. I obviously love Pokemon. It's something I've spent hundreds of hours in, and even for people that don't play it, you have a soft spot in your heart for that one time that you did. It's very much a beloved, venerated franchise, and there's always something fairly magical about it and its concepts, but it has admittedly got fairly stale in what it does. It's a very safe franchise in terms of how it innovates with each iteration, but with Sun and Moon, and the reason it's here and the reason I'm so excited is it really seems like they are going, screw it, we are going to shake things up in a way that honestly is quite ridiculously major for Pokemon. Even just having the entire battle UI get an overhaul to make everything so much more accessible and easier to function and understand is a huge step, breaking the usual formulaic storyline and predictability of what's going to happen, not having just the same beats that every Pokemon game goes through is a huge deal. Having your trainer in the battle scene, giving your starter some more screen time, making it more personable, having all of these characters get involved, having the legendaries more involved, having a separated region with 4 islands with ridiculous environments. They're just doing so many things differently, but from what we've seen so incredibly well that I genuinely think that this will be the best Pokemon game ever made. And I'm not exaggerating. I really, honestly and fully believe that. And that means that for the first time in a long time, I actually feel that kind of spark of excitement, that magic almost, of genuinely looking forward to a new Pokemon game and adventure so much. And I think sometimes, and while I admit that Pokemon definitely has childish elements, I think sometimes it's just nice to have that, you know? It's just nice to have that pure joy and excitement towards a game, and Sun and Moon really gives me that, and it's not often that I do feel that, so I have to give credit where it's due. Finally then, we have number 1, and this one was a no-brainer. I just knew it had to be Horizon Zero Dawn, the same game that got the number 1 spot on last year's list, and it could have got it, honestly, on its idea alone. And now that we've seen some more in-depth gameplay, a lot more than we got last time, showing a lot more nitty-gritty, it just, everything about it just looks stunning. This is the only game at the entirety of E3 that I am throwing caution to the wind and embracing the hype fully. I just think it is great. It looks visually stunning. The idea and concepts in play are awesome. The combat looked exhilarating, having loads of options to attack any given thing, whether you're just trying to disable it and steal some parts, or fully bring it down and kill it, having the traps, the different weapons, using your environment, having this giant robot spider scorpion smash through a building as you're trying to combat it with what amounts to effectively tribal equipment. That's just genius, and I love it, and it looked like so much fun. I need this game in my life, and I cannot wait to play it. Annoyingly, we have to wait till next year, but by God, does it look like it's going to be a truly special one. And the thing is, what the gameplay did for me, what truly made me go, just yes, is that it gave me a lot of Witcher 3 feels. A lot of the mechanics and even the interface in a way and how it was done gave me Witcher 3 feels. It had that level of polish, and it looks like going from point A to point B through the world of Horizon is an enjoyable, wonderful experience as it is in The Witcher. You don't need to be doing some epic quest at the current time, just going from one place to another, seeing what you see, fighting or hiding from what you bump into, exploring new vistas and locations that you come across and finding things. That seems like it's going to be a pure joy itself in the world of Horizon, and I love games that can evoke a feeling of me just technically playing this is wonderful. I don't need to be doing anything, but just being in control of this character in this world is a pure pleasure, and that is what Horizon looks to be, and it is so rare a game gives me that impression. So yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn, everything I have seen about it, from world graphics, combat idea, UI, character, voice acting, hell, even having choices in dialogue is awesome, and something that I wasn't expecting. I doubt it will have big significant impacts, but it's nice to choose. Just everything looks pitch perfect, and I am so pumped. There's no other way to say it. I love this game, and I cannot wait to use a bow to kill a fucking robot T-Rex. That is what I need in my life. So there you go. Let me know what your top 10 are, how you agree with my list, any discussions in the comments. Let's have it go down there. I love seeing what you guys have to think about these things. So overall, a very competent E3 this year, and while I much much more enjoyed Sony's presentation. I think it was generally a lot closer than people are saying. But yeah, I had fun, it was good, and we have a lot of good games to look forward to. We chose well, guys. Being gamers, we did. Like if you've enjoyed this, subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.